Hi everyone, it's Tangi from Papercrafting Australia, back with you for another tutorial for our Card of the Month kit. This time we're doing the month of April, and today we're going to make a pocket card. So I'll just switch over to my camera for the overhead and we'll have a look at what we are playing with this month's kit. So you have got in your kits, you've got some brown, black and white raffia. We also have some black and silver twine. Just going to pop these off screen so that we can start to clear this workspace up a little bit. You also have envelopes in craft. We also have white, black and a cream colour. These three smaller ones, these are the A2 size Gina K Designs envelopes, and this one is an A6 Couture Creations white envelope. So we've got white, black onyx and ivory from the Gina K collections. So you've got that also in matching card bases. So this is Kaiser Craft coloured cardstock. This one is a Couture Creations white card base. This one is a Couture Creations black, photographic black card base. And this one is a Kaiser Craft weave cardstock card base, and this is in the colour of oatmeal. So just a few different colours for us to go through today. We also have the borders and mats in just, this is Kaiser Craft white cardstock, smooth white, and this black one we have in Couture Creations photographic black cardstock. We have a couple of greeting blocks. These are Papercrafting Australia greeting blocks. I think they're called botanicals. We have some sentiment cards. So these are from the big black and white set from Paper Rose Studios in South Australia. So this is 3 of the 6 designs that you get when you purchase that pack. And these are pattern papers, also by Paper Rose Studios. These are from the Textures 1.0 collection. So you can see we've got a nice selection of different shades and also different textures. So we've got some timber, we've got on the back of here a bit of kind of white hessian, some white floorboards, whitewashed bricks, also have some whitewashed timber, a little bit more brown timber, and some blue bricks, so reclaimed bricks. So they're going to be heaps of fun to play with and come up with some ideas that also are going to work well for the gentleman in your life, or for people who don't particularly like florals, or things that are sometimes perceived as a little bit feminine. I've also got some tools with me. I've got a ruler, I've got a Couture Creations glue pen, I've also got my Couture Creations scissors, a bone folder, I've got some of our Couture Creations double-sided 6mm double-sided tape, so it's super thin, tears really easily, so that you can just tear a piece off and pop it onto your project. And I also have my Couture Creations mini guillotine trimmer, which will come in handy for cutting down the papers. So there's not a lot of work that needs to be done with putting these together, because as you know, with our Card of the Month kits, we do prep everything so that it is kind of ready for you to just cut a couple of pieces and put them together. So let's get started with I'm going to do, let me see, I might do one in the craft coloured card base, and I might also do, let's do the black card base, just to show a couple of different ones. We do a lot of white cards and a lot of plain looking cards, so I'll change that. I'm going to use one of my botanicals, because we're using quite dark cardstock, particularly the black, unless you've got a white gel pen that will write on a dark cardstock. I'm just going to pop a mat inside each of those so that we've got something to write on. And I'm going to use 2 of the black borders to pop on the front, just to border our paper sizes. Now, the big question is, oops, putting bits and pieces all over the place, which colours? I really love this. I think maybe I might put that with the craft one, And then I might do maybe something like the whitewashed one, whitewashed wood. Now there's that pattern and there's also a narrower pattern. What do we think? Maybe I'll play around with the thinner one. We'll just see how we go. So you're just going to need one piece of patterned paper per card. Oh, I've got extras floating around. Alrighty. So first of all, I'm going to take my card bases. I'm just going to flip them over so that the score line is raised on the inside. And I'm just going to fold that card up. Just remembering that that score line is important because it stops the cardstock from cracking. So I'm just going to burnish that with my bone folder. I'm going to take my craft coloured one. I'm going to do the same thing. So the side that has the raised hill on the inside, give it a little fold over, and then burnish away. Now this craft one, it is actually a little bit firmer, so it does need a little bit of a going over. Then I'm just going to open up each of those card bases. This one's got a little bit of a jagged end on it that I've created somehow. That's why it's not in one of your kits and it's with me. And I'm just going to position these inside my cards so that I've got somewhere nice and clean that, you know, a regular marker pen will write on. I'm going to grab some liquid glue. Need to store it a little bit more upright, more regularly, because it takes a while to get the glue out otherwise. And also my nieces were using these earlier in the week, so who knows what they have done. So because this cardstock is quite thick, you can put a fair amount of liquid glue on, and you're not going to get the warping and things like that that you might get with some thinner cardstock or paper. You do get a little bit of wiggle room with this, so just having the liquid glue, you can pop it on your paper, give it a little bit of a wiggle around until you've got it into the right position. So you want a nice even border around the outside. Now for anybody who struggles to get these borders to be, you know, fairly even and fairly straight, I have a tool that's coming out for you guys. It'll probably come out a little bit later this month in April, but it is going to change your life. Alrighty, so I'm going to pop that down, pop that aside, and I'll glue this one down. Again, we do have some white gel pens available in the papercraftingaustralia.com store if you are looking for something so that you don't have to put a mat down on the inside of a dark coloured card base. You can just write directly onto there, and it's got a really lovely pigment in it so that the white actually comes out really clear onto your page, even with dark cardstock. So there we go, there's my little jagged edge that I've noticed I've cut off. I've popped it on the inside because at least then it's on the inside and not on the front of my card, so we'll see how that goes. So those are now ready for us to add some pieces to the front. So these black borders, and in fact, I don't know why I've even cut one for the black one. It's not like we're going to see it. But what I might do is pop it up and give it a bit of dimension, just so that there's a little bit of something going on the front of the card. So again, with this piece, we can just glue straight on because this cardstock is quite heavy as well. In the first one going onto the craft coloured card. And just try and pop it on so it's straight. It is a little bit hard for me to do because I'm not standing directly over my work. Might be a little bit easier for you at home because you can just stand up and not put your head in the way of the overhead camera. Whereas if I stand up at the moment, all kinds of crazy is going to happen. All right, so because we've got this one and it's black on black, as I said, I might just pop that up onto some foam double-sided tape. So I'm just going to take my scissors because I did tear an end off this in a project the other day. Didn't work so well for me. Won't do that again. Cut some sections and just pop them fairly close to the edges. Just make sure that I've got some good coverage all the way around. I'm not going to stick this one onto my card front until I've done the background patterned paper that I'm going to do to make the pocket. Because it might just be a little bit too much pressure. Oops, where am I going? On top of all this foam. There we go, so we've got a nice little border around, and I'm just going to run a few extra strips down the middle, maybe just 2, just to give it a little bit more stability through the middle, so it doesn't all collapse into the middle of my card when I stick everything else on. Excellent, so that'll just go there and that'll be popped up just a little bit, just for a bit of dimension. Okay, let's get on to the fun part. So on your coloured cardstock, or your patterned paper rather, what we're going to be doing is cutting 2 panels. So you need to work out which way your paper is going to run, and this is the paper that I'm going to do on this one. So you're going to need to cut a section that is 3 3/4 inches wide by 3 inches high. And then what we're going to do is cut that on a diagonal, and then we're going to reverse some pieces. So I'm firstly just going to cut, because this is 6 by 6 paper, I think it's actually 6.5, but let me just double check. Oh no, it's 6. There are some out there that are doing 6s, 6.5. So I'm just going to cut this into 2 3-inch sections. Fantastic. And then I'm going to cut my 3 3/4 inches this way. Cut this one as well. So you're going to have these little leftovers, which that's fine. They'll be good for other things. Then you're just going to take your paper trimmer. You can do this with a Stanley knife and a ruler if you would prefer, or a craft knife, a utility knife, whatever sharp item you have at your disposal. Lining it up on the edges. I'm just going to cut this off on a diagonal. So you've now essentially got 2 of the same pieces that I could use for, I could make 2 cards out of this one. Then on the other one, I actually want this to go, I mean, essentially it's the same, but I want this to go this way. Just to make sure I've got a left side and a right side. Again, concentrating while I line things up. And these, once you combine one from one section and one from the other, this is what's going to make your pocket on the front of your card. You got that cute little overlap. So I've got those bits and I've got those bits. So I can technically make another card. So you can see this is going to be a way to mass produce some cards fairly quickly. Now I need to decide whether I want these to run up and downs, or do I want them to go sideways? I think I'm going to get them to go up and down, which means I have to cut them this way. Oh, look, the good thing about getting a full set of papers is that you can make the choices And if you stuff it up, you can cut it the other way on a different piece of paper. So again, these measurements, 3 inches by 3 3/4 inches. And then you're going to cut across the diagonal. Grab a bit of this end, just to get a little bit of a different part of the texture. Okay, there's my left-hand sides. Chop, chop. And these will be my right-hand sides. So they're kind of cute. Alrighty, so I'm going to pop my trimmer away. Now all we need to do with these is to give a little bit of it, and you will have just that little bit of a border just inside, about 1/16 of an inch, just inside the black mat. And you just need to glue down the right-hand side and the bottom on this one. Now you can use liquid glue. This cardstock pattern paper from Paper Rose is very, very thick. So it's a 200 GSM paper, which means that it's quite sturdy and will last the distance. It can be quite rough with it. But you want to kind of put your glue as close as you can to the edge within reason, because you don't want to kind of close off the pocket area that you're about to make. Just going to try and position this one fairly close to that edge. Okay. Then we're going to do the same with the other one, except we're going to do the left-hand side and the bottom. And I'm also going to do a little way up this one, mainly so that it will adhere to this part of the pocket and just stop people from trying to poke things down the pocket that's been made by this little flap. Okay. Don't need much in the way of glue. I'm just going to try and match up roughly the amount of border that I've got showing just around that patterned edge there. There we go. So that is the first pocket that we've made. I'm just going to do the same exact process with these two. I'm just going to cross them over the opposite way and pop those onto these little cards. So I'm going to glue this one down first, making sure I've got things on camera for you. It's my favourite trick. Start doing things off camera and you can't see what I'm doing. It's a little bit frustrating. Oops, daisy. So that lovely benefit of having liquid glue again, that you can just wiggle it around till it's in the position that you want it to go in. And then this side, we're just going to do across the bottom, up the right hand side, and just a little bit. Don't want to glue the whole panel down, just want to glue the edges. Good one. Okay. Alrighty, that's that done. Now I'm going to jump back to this card that I've put onto the brown craft cardstock. I'm going to grab one of my big sentiments. So one of these ones, what do we think always say yes to new adventures. It's quite a big one, so I kind of like that. I think I'm just going to pop that in to the pocket as a bit of a tag. Grab my guillotine. Some bits and bobs out of the way. So I'm just going to kind of cut this sheet, hopefully somewhere down the middle, where it gives an even kind of border to that section. I cut this quite high at the top because I want this to be a bit of a tag. Pop that away. So this I can, if I haven't glued my thing down too tight, that's a daisy. There we go. Tuck that in there. What I probably want to do is grab a piece of white. Hopefully that's the right size. Just a bit of scrap card that I've got laying around. I think I might just pop that on, glue it on and then trim it down to make it a decent sized tag. So you might have some scrap cardstock laying around where you are that you can use. You might have a piece of backing card that you've gotten off something that you've bought that's had like a plastic sleeve and a piece of cardboard or something on the inside of it. I'll try and place this fairly straight because then I won't have to do any trimming on the other two edges. Bring back my good friend guillotine. What have we got there, do we reckon? About an 1/8. This is going to be fun. I need to cut off that side. So we'll try and eyeball where that is and where I want it to cut. That was pretty good. Still got liquid glue on it, so I can just wiggle it a little bit. But you could write on the back of this if you wanted to, as well as on the inside of the card. So this pocket just gives you, a little bit more places to write. You might want to put, I don't know, some money in there or a gift card, whatever kind of floats your boat. So I've got that there. And then I'm just going to take a bit of my paper raffia. Just going to tie that into a bow. Now you guys have seen the bows that I do, which is, let me clear a bit of background so it's a bit clear now. Make a bit of an M shape or 2 loops with your paper. Looks like a little bit of a letter M. Cross the 2 loops over, just tie them in a bow. You might have to fiddle around a little just to get your pieces in the right, facing the right direction for how you want them to go. And then tighten it up. You can still pull it through if you want to make them a little bit smaller. But once you're happy with the size, then you can just cut them off. Give it a nice angled kind of look. Finishes it off. It makes it look a bit stylish. A little bit more liquid glue just underneath where that join is there. Pop my little bow on there. Looking good. So that's a cute little one. Now, how are we going to finish this little one off? I did have... Oh, gosh, where's it gone? Here it is. My grading block. So this one, I mean, that's going to cover quite a bit of the nice background that we've done. You could, again, slip that into there, pop something in here, but you've got quite a lot of dead space going on. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? It's okay to have bad days. Look, I don't mind that. I think I'm going to pop it a little bit further up than where we thought, just to be able to give it, you know, make the rest of it look, see a little bit more of what's underneath. And I think this is the kind of one where you want to maybe pop a sentiment in the middle of that. We might pop something like birthday wishes. Just trim one of these. Maybe we'll make this just a note. It's a cute little sentiment that'll definitely fit on the greeting block. Just a note. If I'd had a black one, that would have looked good as well. You could also handwrite something on that one. Keep that out of the way. All right, so I think I'll just pop a little bit of glue on this one. Just to hold it down. Oops. We want to make sure that we're getting it on the patterned paper, but we don't want to close off this little pocket. So we're kind of just needing a bit of glue here and about the same on the other side. That'll hold it on. Try and get things a little bit even. Then I'm going to grab my white raffia. I've already done those on the other side. That's a bummer, but I can still do this. It's not going to kill things too much, but I'm going to need to take these little bits off. So maybe if you're going to do this exact way, don't put your foam tape on the back before you've wrapped ribbon around it, although I tend to decide that I'm going to add ribbon at the end of what I'm doing. So I'm going to cut a couple of pieces that are long enough to go around the front and wrap around the back. So I've just roughly measured one here because I don't want this to kind of stick to my desk. It's going to wrap that over the back. Nope, and I've got my sentiment stuck. Pop one there and another one just kind of below it but still overlapping. Just like that. Fairly rough, doesn't have to be perfect and amazing. And I might just put these up on, pop this up on a little teeny tiny bit of foam tape. Ching. I'm just going to run under here. I just want these to sit down because these are going to be the thing that's kind of holding my greeting onto the card. I need to just put a little bit of liquid glue underneath that raffia. Okay. Just so that that's stuck to the card. And then this one on top. Now I'll take the rest of my foam tape off here. You couldn't hear my tummy grumbling then. I've had lunch. What's going on? All right, now I've got to try and get this to line up and be straight. Black on black's never easy to see. Hopefully you've chosen a colour combination that's a little bit easier than black on black. Okay, and I am going to grab, nope, that's a black gel pen. I want a white one. Where is it? Here. Make sure it's working off camera. I'm just going to run a little bit of a fake stitching line. Let's get a bit of a farmhouse vibe to it. All the way around the edge of the raised one. Again, this would have been easier to do before I put the foam tape on. Not to worry. Ta-da! So again, that little pocket, perhaps if you've got a little, let's get a bit of white note paper. See how small I'd have to fold that to fit it in. But, you know, say you've got an extra little note that you want to pop in there. Don't want to ruin things. Just got to get it to tuck. Teddy hair. Get in there. Now it's all gone pear-shaped. I'm sure it will tuck eventually. I might have just made this a little bit too thick. Let's cut down some of the bulk on that. See if this works. Don't want to put anything too ridiculously thick in there, but you do want to be able to, pop a $10 note or just a little bit of something, maybe a little, do lots of printed gift vouchers and things like that these days. Gosh, I can't make it work, but it will work. So yeah, maybe just give yourself a little bit of extra wiggle room with how much you want to put in there. I can get it to go this way. There we go. Just have to do it differently. Man, it's not working. You get the idea. But that's just two little options for you. They're not too girly, not too feminine. They're quite nice and plain and neutral. Goes great with their little matching coordinating envelopes. I don't know where my black one has gone. It's around here somewhere. Over here. No, that's not an envelope. That's a piece of cardstock, Tangy. There we go. So cute little envelopes, cute little cards, and you can pop a little something in at the front. So I hope you've enjoyed today's tutorial and look forward to having you back for May, when we're going to be working with some Australian native colours and patterns and going from there. So thanks for joining me. Bye.